Well, first of all, you are all so very welcome, and, we'll be meeting for 6 weeks. In the email that you got from Nadia, you have the link that will be the link for 6 weeks, and Cecilia, I know you as Cece, but we're gonna introduce yourself, and you can let the people know how you want to be called,
I'm
and
Cecilia.
Cecilia, okay,
Cecilia.
okay,
You
uh,
that's my family name, Sissy.
Cece, yeah. That's a story we have in common. So, I would like today I that Beverly's not here, I would imagine she will watch the recording, and, it is recording, so, um, I I would like to remember, Hassan Jack Kessler as we meet today, and Hassan Jack Kessler was my teacher and a mentor, and he died uh, late last week. And there is a tradition of either doing study, and to remember the person. And I was thinking too, Cecilia, that we could remember Rita, as
Yeah,
we are studying today, your sister Rita.
yes, thank you.
And, who I just love dearly, not just because we shared, a name. And so for the opening prayer, I'd like to play, just a short part of one of the musical numbers. One of the things that Jack had was a band named Atzilut. And Atzilut was a band that, Jack is really known for building bridges and crossing, through his music, and building and really trying to create peace through his music. And Atzilut is, a Middle Eastern, a band that would play mainly Middle Eastern music, and had many Muslim, musicians. And I thought that as we were beginning, a class, or just this is more than a class. This will be kind of a journey that we will take together, and to grow together in building and strengthening bridges, and learning how to, um, listen and connect and open our hearts and grow our spaciousness, so that we can go deeper with people who are from different faiths, but just also with people who see the world differently, and which is needed so much in our time. So this is a recording that goes back, I think, about 10 years, and, I thought we could begin in a sense, that our prayers will be that Jack's voice will carry us, and that we will learn from his and from his the grace that he had in building bridges. So I'm going to share the screen, and, hope that it works. Uh, okay. Sorry. And and if we can't share screen, then I will just play it for you. Uh, Chrome tab. Okay.
Eved Adonai hu levad chofesh. Avdizman, avdei, avadipem. Avdizman, avdei, avadipem. Eved Adonai, Eved Adonai, Eved Adonai, Eved Adonai hu levad chofeshi. Lo chein bevakesh kol enosh chercho. Lo chein bevakesh kol enosh chercho. Chereki Adonai Avranashi Avranashi Eved Adonai hu levad chofeshi.
Beautiful.
Yes, I was at his funeral on Sunday, and very close with one of his sons and daughter-in-law.
Loving God, you fill our world with music, and music can build bridges. Silence can build bridges. Open our hearts as we begin to create the circle of our connection, as we walk the journey of learning how to go deeper in our listening and being and doing our holy listening. And help us be filled with just the sparks of light and the energy that Hassan Jack had and still has in his journey of transition and his soul journey with us. And may it be so.
Amen.
Amen.
So what I'd like to do is just take a couple, like maybe even just a minute or 2 minutes for each of us to introduce ourselves, just briefly. We'll have plenty of time, and to like just share briefly what drew you here, what you might hope to learn, and especially how you hope to grow. And my vision is that I'm not the only teacher here. There will be 5 of us, and there will be 5 teachers. and that we will learn from each other. And this circle will, by being in this circle, each of our hearts, our souls, our whole being will grow deeper in being able to be the kind of loving, kind connectors that can balance what flows and that knows and that opens our hearts to those that sometimes we find really difficult to connect with. So I'm going to start really briefly. I'm here because I was in class with Rev Victor Gross, and he was sharing his vision about that one of the things that was missing from teaching deep ecumenism was teaching people how to dialogue in a deeper way. And I talked to him after that class, and I said, I can teach that. I know how to do that. I've been teaching relationship therapy for 30 years, but I'm not just going to teach you what I learned as an imago therapist, which was the kind of therapy I did. I want to weave it in with our faith and then with our spiritual energy. And Cecilia and when Beverly's here, like I was yesterday morning, I was sitting and thinking, oh, like a particular image, and I'm thinking, where do I find that in the Gospels, and where do I find that? And I believe that the kind of ways that we're going to be called to empty ourselves in order to make enough room so that we can be and have another's presence with us and that we can communicate. So that's why I'm here. And I know that, what I want, I just want to be open to what is and to what gifts I will know because this is the makeup that my goddess, I call Shahina, that Shahina meant for me. And I believe that each of you are here for a special reason also. And all I know is I just want to grow deeper. And I think that's it. To Barty, I've spoken. And
Damati, I heard.
yeah. So I'm wondering if Mayira, I'd like to pass, would you like to go next?
I'm happy, Miriam Root. So I go by many names. You can call me Maira. You might also hear people call me Debbie or 10,000 other things. I live in Northern Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C. And I say I affiliate with the renewal movement. And I am deeply eclectic in my spiritual practice. I borrow from many traditions and wisdom of many different leaders. I completed the wisdom school with Reb Nadia Gross, and then I completed the circle called the Next Generation, which is meant to be a support circle to Reb Nadia, and we are ongoing. And I will be co-teaching the graduate school of the Wisdom School with Nadia in 2025. And I'm sure there'll be more to share later. Dibarti. Why I'm here. I want to be able to listen to people I differ from greatly. And to do that without reactivity so that I can hear and then respond to the person I want to respond more to the person than to the message.
Mm.
And we're politically divided in this country, and we're divided around the world, and we're all members of different tribes. But one of the things that really drives me is that while I am deeply connected to my Jewish root, I feel I also have a root in the tribe of Yishmael, the Arab world. And there have been times where I have felt split. And I would like to be one who closes that chasm that exists in the world. Now, Deepa.
Mm. You're muted, Mary Rita.
You so much. Thank you. Yes, I've heard Shemati. Mayor, would you like to invite someone else?
Okay, well, we'll continue to go clockwise around my screen, and we'll go to Michael.
Okay, hi everyone. Good to see you all. And Mayor is a really tough act to follow. She sounded so wonderful. So, yep, you can see my name up there. And I originally from Boston. I live in Philadelphia in a neighborhood that's Westmount area where Arthur Washko lives. Here, there's so many rabbis around. We don't call anybody rabbi or rabbi. So Mordecai Liebling lives in the neighborhood. Sean Zevitt lives in the neighborhood. And we're only 3 miles from the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College. So there's lots of Reconstructionist rabbis here. And lately I've been doing a lot of stuff with Rabbi Malkabina Klein, who you know her.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's also a neighbor. And Masha and Jack, they live in the neighborhood. And so what drew me to Renewal was Phyllis Berman.
Mm.
We knew each other, and she convinced me, which didn't take much, because I love and respect her so much, to go to the last Ruach. And I just fell in love with the energy of the renewal movement. So I don't have all that much trouble, I feel, dialoguing with people of different traditions. But when I mentioned this a week or so ago at Victor's class, and I said, what I have trouble with is communicating with other Jews. It got a big laugh, and they talked about how Reb Zalman had specifically talked about that and taught that. And I guess one of my main teachers in spiritual development and in loving kindness is Pema Chodron. And one of her philosophies, and I've been with her quite a few times in person, is that in each person there is a goodness within. The way I was raised was that goodness within, that is within everyone, is the divine. And that's in communicating with everyone else, what I've learned over the years is one of the most important things is to be a good listener and pay attention to what other people are saying, and that I'm not in competition with anyone or anyone else's tradition, that each tradition stands on its own and each has its own merits. So I just thought, Rep Victor, he strongly endorsed this class, and I got so much out of his class and enjoyed it, and enjoyed his storytelling, that I thought, and I kind of slightly know Mary Reeder from Zoom, and I really appreciate her and whatever she had to say. So I thought, well, why not do that I could learn from Mary Reeder and from all of you, and it can only be a positive experience. And so I'm hoping that after this course, it'll be at least a baby step, if not more, forward into communicating with not just people of other traditions, but people of my own. So I'm very glad to be here with you all, and thank you all for listening.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Shema,
I guess I'm supposed to say debate. I never got the hang of that.
and I have listened, we have listened, and thank you. And would you just pass it on to Cecilia?
Yes, okay. Well, I came here because I got so excited when I read Mary Rita's background, because I have had a similar path, and I was raised Catholic, and I have not actually thrown it away. I still have it in me, and I'm beginning to like that I do. I'm beginning to think it's okay, but about now, it's like, think about 15 years ago, we were looking for my father's family because he was an orphan, and we found that the whole family was Jewish from Žatec in the Czech Republic. And so I went into the convent for 10 years. I left the convent and I kind of joined the Religion of the Month Club. I went to be a Unitarian, and that wasn't spiritual enough for me. I mean, I don't know. Then I decided I would have just my own religion. And then I found out, oh my gosh, I'm half Jewish. And so I went to the synagogue, Beit Tikkun, and I loved it. And I knew, I went in, they were singing a Nigunim. I knew it. I knew so much of the music. And I had never been in a synagogue, but it was in me. It was in my heart. And I don't know, I fell in love with Rabbi Michael Lerner. He just died, by the way, actually, as well.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to be there when he died. And I was very close to him. I really, when I say I fell in love, meaning I fell in love with him as a teacher. And his synagogue, Beit Tikkun, our synagogue, is a renewal synagogue. And it also is a political synagogue.
Mhm.
And so now I consider myself Jewish, but and I actually wanted to convert, but Rabbi Michael Lerner told me, no, don't convert, because he said, you are Jewish. He said, it isn't about, is it your mother or your father? So basically, I'm a member of that synagogue. I was on the board, and, but I feel like Jesus was the first renewal rabbi. So I have this whole thing going on in me that I see very easily I just see very easily how all of these religious ideas come together. And I'm naturally interested in difference in the other. And so I'm also very interested in Muslims. And I worked for a long time with Muslims in Greece, with the refugees in Greece. And I got to know them, and I got to know a lot about their religion. And so I love this whole idea about deep ecumenism. And I just said, yes, I want to take this class. So anyway, that's why I'm here. That's my story.
I've heard Shamati. I was touched, Meira, hearing you talk about like wanting to try to basically, it's not even knit, but to bring the Muslim and the Jewish and like together as one, and Cecilia feeling that that's where how Michael Lerner like really led you.
Yes.
And for me, it was Reb Nadja, uh, who has the knack of just saying like one sentence to me or maybe one question and things just go back into place. And I feel a oneness. I have not like I did convert, and that was a journey that was really important to me when I finally decided. And it was on a weekend when we read about Abraham's Lech Lecha, go to another land. And I had this kind of like, and it was like, and I literally did say, kind of like under my breath, oh shit, because I wasn't planning to do this. Um, but I would always say, well, this was my like my nun part, or this is my Catholic part, or this is my Jewish part. And now I feel a oneness. That's why I say I am deep ecumenism, because there's so much of what like I have known, probably what I believe from past lives that were lives that have roots in Christianity. I know I was a Druid priestess, so and I was just in Ireland, and it was important for me to go and to visit Bridget's Well, and it's known as Saint Bridget's Well. Uh, and there was a goddess Bridget, and Saint Bridget was a bishop. So there's a statue of her with the bishop's staff. And as I shared that with my friend Shefa Gold, she said all of a sudden she had this vision of the power of Bridget, just kind of like going that the staff represented the power and the power of the goddess coming into the Saint Bridget. And the Druids, the Celtic spirituality didn't have a break. They were one, and they were the one person. Um, and so it's oneness. But as Michael, what you pointed out, some of your struggles, and that you want to be able to listen better, or to other Jews who, walk in a sense a different path. And
Yes.
I certainly, know that even in Catholicism and Christianity, there are like different paths. I grew up in Philadelphia, a very traditional place for Catholicism. And yet I was really very liberal in my beliefs. And so I don't even use those words now. There's this oneness. So where I'd like okay, so one thing I want to use our time just really sharing and learning, like, to begin to practice mirroring and talk about mirroring in a way that's not just steps of how to do something. And I have some resources that I want to send you by email. I'm going to refer to some now. I'm going to refer to some, but first I'm going to show a video that is really, really powerful, and it's of Ramon Panikar, and it's called "The Window." And it's, for me, a really beautiful. It's one image of how we can bring ourselves to a connection, to a building of a bridge. And this takes just a little more, like about 3.5 minutes. And I'm going to invite you then to just sit with, like, just let it soak in. When we say that the blessing for studying Torah, this is, so when we see this Torah of this and hear Paniker's words, to let it soak in. And then if you have anything to write on, maybe just do a little journaling, and then we'll do a little harvesting. And then I'm going to model some mirroring, but then we're going to talk a little bit more about mirroring, what you already know about it, and where we're going to take it more deeply. So,
Mary Rita, what word are you using? Murin?
Miro,
Oh,
like a
Miro.
Miro.
Yeah.
That's my Philadelphia accent.
One of the metaphors I use is that we are all seeing the world from our particular point of view. We see the world through a window. And here I say two things. First, the more cleaner the window is, the less I see the window and the glass. And the more I am enthused and in love with what I see. So I don't see my window. I see through the window. And I need my fellow who tell me, look here, you are looking through a window. But then I have to tell them, sorry, you also look at the window. And then we compare notes. And in great part we see the same landscape, but perhaps we see it a different way also. And perhaps I say, no, I would like to see that, and it's all right. So we need each other. But here's another thing, with the metaphor of the window. I see through my window, and I cannot say that I do not see what I see through my window. I don't see through the window of my neighbor. But if I love my neighbor, which I think is not bad, then I will have to hear the description of what my neighbors say, and then say, well, sorry, I don't see that, because I see the window. But I hear you telling me something else. Well, what do I discover? I discover two things. I discover that the other, my neighbor, doesn't see the same world as I see. But I discover that I don't see the whole world. Because unless he's a fool and I'm a fanatic, or I haven't heard him, I hear. And you remember that St. Paul said that faith comes from hearing. I hear the other telling me something about the world, about reality, about he or she sees through the window that I don't. And then, well, I say, well, then the world is much nicer than I thought. I thought I was seeing the whole picture, and now you're telling me that the thing is little. Well, I don't like more or like better. It's an enrichment, it's a challenge. And here begins the interreligious dialogue. You say what you hear, you say what you believe, you say you experience, and narrate at the same time to hear the other telling other narratives, other beliefs, other experiences. And then we dialogue.
So I invite you to take about 1 or 2 minutes just to let that sit with you, let it steep, and then to jot down the gems or just the questions or the little sprouts that are just kind of tickling your soul. And then we'll come back to share. So I invite you to maybe just finish the sentence or finish the words that you're writing down.
I'm embarrassed to say that I couldn't understand him,
Okay.
and I couldn't read the Italian quickly enough. So I need to have someone else start, and then maybe I'll figure out what I can say.
So I think this is not the first time I heard it, so you make sense. And so I thought that we would just see what we could share now. And then I'm gonna do a little bit of modeling of mirroring. And then since it's only 3 minutes, kinda like I'm gonna like the Hatima, the and like to kind of put the seal on it. I'm gonna show it once more
Oh, good.
to
Good.
see if you can get it better, but also to see if you hear something differently,
Yeah.
or something more. So let's just kinda be loose with it.
I have had the privilege of hearing this from you before. And so I feel like and also I have a special expertise from my professional life of understanding what people are saying, even when they're hard to understand. That's my gift. So I think I captured 3 sentences of what I heard, which I'm happy to share or not share.
Yeah, please share.
Okay. We are unaware of our window unless something sticks to it, and we do not recognize our window, our edges, until somebody brings that to our attention. We see more by combining our vision with another's vision and get a more complete view of the world. We get this view by hearing what the other sees, and then we adjust our own lens.
Thank you.
That's what I got. And I would like to know who Ramon Panicar is.
He was born into 2 major religious traditions, Catholic Christian and Hindu, and has concerned himself since his earliest years with the interplay of traditions and disciplines. He is a philosopher and a theologian with doctorates in chemistry, philosophy, and theology. He presently lives in Spain, what was for many years professor of religious studies at the University of California in Santa Barbara. And even before I was in a deep ecumenism class with Reb Victor, he introduced me to him because I asked for some reading like during the summer, and this was one of the books, the Intra-Religious Dialogue, and you're going to get that on the paper on something that I'll be sending out.
Great.
And there is one section in the beginning chapters on just five attitudes toward dialogue. So I love also what you wrote down, because he also was capturing how we are basically affected, and then we have a choice to make, as like we all of a sudden we're seeing differently through the window because of what we hear from the other person. And just let that sit for now. Thank you. And Michael, would you like to share anything?
Okay, but to start off with, there's a lot on the internet about Ramon Paniker. If you want to delve into who he is a little more than what Mary Rita said, which I looked him up because prior to the class. Okay, I guess the thing that was really helpful to me was after the YouTube or whatever piece that we sat for a little bit to digest it, and the window. So everything to me in that is a metaphor. And what I wrote is, we have our own window, a metaphor for how we see the world, spirituality, the ecology, and ourselves. But that is limited because there are other credible visions that other folks have in other traditions. As Father Ramon said at the end, we can connect through dialogue about each other's visions. And what it reminded me of, that years ago, I was with my friend Marie, and who's from the Port Richmond section of Philadelphia, and raised Roman Catholic. And we both thought, wouldn't it be nice that when we come across other people that we may know or do not know, that we see the face of God in each person. And I feel that's kind of helps me when I think of that and try to put it into practice. It helps me if I'm thinking that the divinity is within not just me, but everyone, that I can dialogue with others in that way. Oh, Tabati.
Shamati, thank you, Michael. So what I hear is what is really important is the essence that we carry inside of us, that the God, the goddess, that God, that image of God lives in us, that essence of God lives in us. And that if that crossing the bridge is also, I think, first of all, the bridge right into ourselves and really believing and seeing the God, or for me, the goddess inside of that I am, and to know that you, Michael, carry that same, that you had that essence and the God in you, and Meira, the goddess in you, and Cecilia, the goddess in you, the God in you, and that is so, so important. It's a little bit more of a struggle when it's someone that, um, is really, kind of different and shows up with different values. Um, and there is an Hasidic tale that I remember studying at one point, with one of the rabbis from Oseh Shalom, which is my brick and mortar synagogue. And I love this, like, I without the book, which I'd have to pull off and look for the story, but there's a question of, like, how can I basically love this other person as I love myself? Because it's someone that whose actions are so different and, like, supported by values that are not my own. And in this story from this Hasidic master says, "What do you think God's feeling when he sees when God sees this person?" So that there is, like a sense that it's not easy, but there is that stretching that we do. So, Cecilia, I'm wondering if there's anything you'd like to share just from what you've heard from the beloveds that are in this circle, and then I really am going to do that sealing and play the 3 minutes again.
Right, I'm
And
eager to see it again.
okay,
And yes, I was amazed by what both of you said, and also the interpretation of the metaphor that we each have our own window. One thing I do remember, um, that he talked about if the window is dirty, and if the window is clean, you're not aware of the window. But if the window is dirty, then, yeah, no, I forget what he said. Something about something. If the window has some smudges, then we really see the window. But I don't really know the deeper meaning of that. Probably maybe Michael does. I don't know, but I remember I was able to get that.
Okay.
Well, Mary Rita, the one thing I'm glad you said was that when you see someone quite different, it may not be easy. So nobody ever said that finding that God within others is easy, but it's worthwhile.
Mhm.
So I have a really short story. I call it like a Mary story because this woman's name was Mary. And she is the cousin of a really close friend of mine. And she is a very MAGA person. And I met her for the first time at a wedding that I was at in Ireland last week and a half ago. And I I liked her from the first moment I met her. And I knew and I really believe it was grace that I didn't care if she was a MAGA person. I just really felt some energy that I really liked her. And, and I knew the story that my friend, her cousin said, "No T-shirt, no shirt." This is, this is a woman that probably is in her late 70s, you know, and no talking about politics. We don't talk about politics here. This is a wedding. It's not about you. And what I learned, and it wasn't just mirroring, but it was about crossing the bridge because I knew when I wasn't going to mirror her back, or and I was aware that I could have had reactions to something that she said. And just one example, because she mentioned the city in Ohio, Springfield, and she said, there's 60% immigrants, and that just is awful. And I felt and I went, "Mm," and I said to her, "You know, I want to tell you a little bit about my neighborhood that I live in, and which is very diverse." So I just did a little bit, and she listened. And, so a little later she said, "You're gonna be pissed if I say this." And it was about that she couldn't get Fox News in Ireland, and that didn't feel safe for her. But she could get CNN, and again, it was another I decided to keep my mouth shut because of what I think about some things. And I looked at her and I said, "I just honor that, you know, I honor that you're being true to yourself, and you're telling me what you miss, and that makes sense." She was telling me that uh, it was really hard for her to get her green card when she came from Ireland to live in the United States, and that what she gets and what she hears is that people are just handed green cards now. I wasn't going to go with that conversation either. But I said to her, "That makes a lot of sense if it was really, really hard for you." And, when I went to say goodbye to her and give her a hug, she said, "If I get to Washington, D.C. area, I'd really like to call you." And I said, "I'd really like to have more time with you." And that felt like just such a gift of being able, I saw her differently, the window that I looked through, um, and things that I heard about her helped me to, maybe take some of the smudge off my window, and I really didn't care if what she believed politically because I was seeing the person. And so I think that's a lot of also what he's saying. So, yes, Meira.
Didn't want to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, fine.
Okay, so he did say that when there's dirt or smudges, we become aware of the window. He didn't give us, at least I didn't hear, a clear metaphor for what those smudges represent.
Mhm.
But what I'm understanding is that the smudges are our recognition of our own flaws. And that when we can see something about ourselves, it changes the way we look through the window.
Mm,
Mhm.
wow.
So I hear that we're not clear that he explained the metaphor more fully.
He did it. I don't
But
think.
no, but and I think I agree with you, that makes sense. And that for you, the smudges represent, flaws that we have in ourselves, just part of our humanness, and that helps us when I know when I can accept those, then I'm able to, um, accept more. I'm able to see that window and see through that window a lot more clearly. And we will be working with looking at the feelings that we feel. We'll be looking at biases a little, a couple more weeks from now, or if they come up, we'll do them a little earlier. So I'm going to share screen again.
One of the metaphors I use is that we are all seeing the world from our particular point of view. We see the world through a window. And here I say two things. First, the more cleaner the window is, the less I see the window and the glass. And the more I am enthused and in love with what I see. So I don't see my window. I see through the window. And I need my fellow who tell me, look here, you are looking through a window. But then I have to tell them, sorry, you also look at the window. And then we compare notes. And in great part we see the same landscape, but perhaps we see it a different way also. And perhaps I say, no, I would like to see that, and it's all right. So we need each other. But here's another thing with the metaphor of the window. I see through my window, and I cannot say that I do not see what I see through my window. I don't see through the window of my neighbor. But if I love my neighbor, which I think is not bad, then I will have to hear the description of what my neighbors say, and then say, well, sorry, I don't see that, because I see the window, but I hear you telling me something else. Well, what do I discover? I discover two things. I discover that the other, my neighbor, doesn't see the same world as I see. But I discover that I don't see the whole world. Because unless he's a fool and I'm a fanatic, or I haven't heard him, I hear. And you remember that St. Paul said that faith comes from hearing. I hear the other telling me something about the world, about reality, about he or she sees through the window that I don't. And then Well, I say, well, then the world is much nicer than I thought. I thought I was seeing the whole thing picture, and now you're telling me that the thing is little. Well, I don't like more or like better. It's an enrichment, it's a challenge. And here begins the interreligious dialogue. You say what you hear, you say what you believe, you say your experience, and narrate at the same time to hear the other telling other narratives, other beliefs, other experiences. And then we dialogue.
Well, I'll go because I heard absolutely everything he said this time. So, thank you for playing it again. What a good idea.
Well, I want to say thank you to you, Cecilia, because I said in the beginning, we are doing this journey together. And I think what a brilliant idea. If it was like 20 minutes long, it would have like we were
Right.
given a gift of 3 minutes and like 10 seconds or
Yeah.
20 seconds. We could listen to it a third time and you would hear something more, you know. We'll do it just 2 times because we have an hour left, and I want you to do a little mirroring and, find out a little bit of where we're heading. So, Cecilia.
Yeah, I think I liked I liked it all, but I liked the ending a lot. So that I'm looking at the window and my neighbor is looking at the window. And I'm seeing and experiencing and believing and feeling one thing. And my neighbor is feeling another thing. But the way we come to greater understanding is that we share this with one another. We talk and we listen, or we listen to one another. And then we see, I like the way he said, and so I say, oh, the world is so much better because now I'm seeing your part of the window too. You know, it was very, very lovely. Yeah. Yeah, I like I'm gonna find the film. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I would use it for one of my workshops.
yeah, you're gonna get the link because I'm gonna what I'm gonna send you, you're gonna get the link, so
Yeah. Oh, that's
you
great.
don't have to
Thank
go
you.
looking through YouTube. Michael.
Well, one thing on the second, uh, listening, it's like anything else, you know, each time you do something that's the same, there's always something new. And the one important thing for me was he said that we need each other.
Mhm.
And that word need is a lot different than other words.
We need each
Oh,
other.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess in my quest to become whole, and I need other people to help me to become whole
Mhm.
and to interact.
And so what I hear is that what struck you in the second hearing is that we need one another, and that for you to grow your whole into, more of your wholeness and who you are, you need the other. And I just want to add, and for the other persons or the person also needs you in order for she or he to grow into wholeness.
That's really interesting because I left home at 17 and pretty much for many years felt being a loner and leading a secular life was really important to me and who I thought I was. And then I'm so glad I don't see that from myself anymore.
Mhm. And I'm really glad that you don't see that for yourself anymore.
And I wanted to say too.
Thank you.
So I want to say to all of you that, you know, I made a few notes about things that jumped out the second time, but I had heard them the first time. But what's more important to me is this conversation. And I'm going to see if I can put this into words. That my primary job is to release my certainty that I understand, to allow room for the understanding of others.
Mm.
I think I said that well.
You said it well. So what I heard you saying that you need to allow the releasing, like, of the certainty that you understand in order to allow room for the understanding of for you to be able to, allow room for the understanding of the other,
Right, to take on the other perspective.
to take on the other perspectives. So the dialogue, just a little bit, building on what you just said, Mayira. But I learned the dialogue as an Imago therapist. The word that I remember is like being able that I would often say to couples that I was working with or an individual where I would like listen and mirror back, or whether it's a couple, that the purpose of the mirroring is that like in that kind of a structure, you I really do listen differently because I shut down what might be going on in my head, like like creating an answer or a response to something that I just heard. It empties me, that the mirroring and the focus and the presence, so just in the container today in climbing, this is a time when and then we can climb up the tree of life going toward the new creation. It's Gevurah, Gevurah doubled, you know, and I love the idea of discerning how like for me, the dialogue process or is like a container that allows me to be present and allows me to make room for the understanding from the other person. And so it reminds me of what I call the dance of, like, some of the Sefirot, and I was thinking about, also how I understand humility, like, just taking enough room, but it's also making room for the other, and in the Kabbalistic creation story where, like, God wants so much to love that God, like, makes room makes room so that we can be created and that there will be a place for relationship and for love. So the dialogue, whether it's the mirroring that we will do is not just for the sake of let me get all these words, but it's for the sake of presence and it's for the sake of making that room so that whatever was going on behind the other person's window can be shared and can be taken in. And so what I am So where are we heading? Because I want to keep this in that sense of doing a little bit, stopping, steeping it, silence, little journaling, and then comes like, how was this? What's the conversation? Because that's the richness as you take in the understanding from each other. So I'm curious how many of you already know a little bit how to kind of mirror back what you've heard a person say, whether you do it um, the spoken like response or whether you're mirroring just in your head so that you are taking in and remembering what you've heard. Okay, so that's so
I think I mostly don't do it,
okay.
um, but I would like to do it. I think it's really important. I've seen this done in drama therapy, the mirroring back. But I think you're talking about something a little simpler in everyday life. Is that right? And
It
I'm
can be. It can be. So we're going to do some mirroring. I'm
oh,
trying to
good.
I'm gonna do some shifting, of, like this is where some things get kind of pushed aside, and then I'll see whether what I might bring back next week that we don't do this week. And what I can give to you, at least in sending out some resources that you can read through. It's not a lot of reading, but you can read through, and then we can kind of then respond to those. So,
So mirroring is deeper listening.
it's deeper
Instead of
than
thinking, what am I going to say now? I'm putting more emphasis on what was said, on listening. Okay.
so so mirroring so what I hear you saying is that what you're hearing and kind of grasping is that mirroring is a deeper way of listening. And
Mhm.
instead of sitting and like trying to make up like to be making it a monologue for yourself because you're
Right.
making up your answer. You keep the relational aspect of it because you're present to the other person. And then it doesn't have to be word for word. Some people like word for word, but you're mirroring the essence of what you heard. And some people, and I'm gonna keep us together. There's only four of us, so we'll take turns being partners.
Mary
And
Rita,
yes, Michael.
um, you, you said you're going to be sending us some readings. Well, with the holidays coming up, I'm doing some laning that I'll be doing, and
Okay.
also practicing a prayer for peace. I'd appreciate it if you would send that out as soon as you can.
I will, and then it's not long. Nothing is
What?
long. It's like just a couple of sheets. And one of the things, I was gonna just try to go through that here, but I wanna practice mirroring instead, and, like, we have 45 minutes, and I wanna spend some time and some sharing about that. So, let me send out one of them is just a brief description of mirroring. There's a brief description of what I mean by building bridges or crossing the bridge. Um, there are just some values about the kind of connectivity we're talking about in dialoguing. And there is just some suggestions, of some, if afterwards you want to do some reading, I give you the name, like a brief like I give you the links for the videos that we're going to be looking at, and just some information about some books that you might want to look at. And Michael, you already have Reb Zalman's Deep Ecumenism, and I'm going to send that out. And Mayor, I think you probably have it, but I'm going to send it out to everybody. Okay. And just, I don't want you running out buying books. I'm going to do a little bit of talking, maybe about the third week from Heschel, and about his experience of being kind of the apostle of dialogue during the Second Vatican Council, and just some examples in our history. I would love to, I need to check with Victor, but I'd love to share with you the 30-minute presentation he gave when we had a 2-day conference on interreligious dialogue, and it was the best. Like, what he got in 30 minutes is kind of like it's the foundation for the dialogue. And I don't want to take 30 minutes of our time if there's other, like, ways we can do some practicing. But I might break it down to next week we'll look at 15 minutes, and the next week we'll look at 15 minutes more. And if it's okay to share the link with you, then you can go back at any time and just listening, because I think it's one of the best presentations I've ever heard Victor give on how deep ecumenism and dialogue dance together. So,
Okay.
I didn't want to take time today. I wanted to just like sit and steep with Paniker. So a prompt. We're going to just maybe take 2 minutes each, maybe 3 minutes each, going back and forth. And different people being the receiver, and then also the sender's responsibility is basically to send, is to help the safety. And one of the, like, and the dialogue, the mirroring, is about safety, and it's creating safety. So if I am listening and I am really, really focusing on the other person, then, and my intention is that it's like I'm walking across a bridge, and I made room, and it's like, I want to know about you. So I want to listen. You're telling me about you and your neighborhood. And and I'd like to invite you, like, if there are any stories, like anything that you would like to share, and it's not going to be real long, but to share about, these are some examples that I've had of what I feel good about, in some deep ecumenism types of conversations. And these are reasons why I'm here, that this is where I'd like to grow. Um, okay, so this is what we're going to do first. Shahina just said to me, go back and do what you were planning to do first. And it's a brief meditation. It's a brief visualization. It's something that you can take home with you. And I'm going to also send it to you so that you can do it. So I want you to just get comfortable. And this is about presence, and just really being present, not only to the other person, but present yourself and to this moment, and to the connection that we are building, one with another and with each other. So This is a kind of warm up to the mirroring. So, Parker Palmer has said to listen to voices before even they are spoken. That is part of where we're heading, to kind of listen, to intuit voices before even they are spoken. You might say, how? And part of that is what your body will sense, what your heart will sense, what your soul will sense. The gazing, the noticing, using what I often call the soul intuiting, just feeling what's going on in you and just what you're noticing in the other person. And holy, like the listening, the deep listening is about being a good receiver. And it is listening with your body and mind and spirit. And we will be learning how we like paying attention to the other person, but it's also paying attention to you, to yourselves. And we're invited to see others as part of ourselves that we do not know yet. To see others as part of ourselves that we do not know yet. And Reb Zalman has said, I am the cell of the living earth. I am a cell of the living earth. The first Ohala conference that I went to, that was the homework that we were sent home to do, that for 30 days, that we would each day remember to tell ourselves that I am a cell of the living earth. So I want to invite each of us to cultivate wonder and curiosity, and to imagine that you are a part of me that I do not know yet, so that you are a part of me, Mary Rita, Miriam Ruth Hazoheret, that I don't know yet. And I want you to maybe imagine a day, the last Shabbat, but imagine a day recently in your life. And you're experiencing your world with curiosity and wonder. And as you are interacting with your partner or your children or your coworkers, wonder about what makes them say and do the things they do. Say to yourself, you are a part of me I do not know yet. As you delight in the birds singing in your yard, or the deep peace, perhaps you have a cat curled up asleep, the exuberant love of your dog, or in the beauty and mystery of the wildlife with whom you share the land, stop and wonder aloud. You are a part of me I do not yet know. Take a slow wander and touch the plants in your neighborhood. Savor their downy leaves, their prickly stems, their soft, bright petals. Stand with the trees, rest your back on their trunks, or touch their bark and feel the life pulsing within. Gaze up through the rustling branches and know their aliveness. Bend down and take a fistful of soil in your hand. Drink in the aroma of the rich loaminess. Let it run through your fingers back to the earth. Imagine a meadow and imagine standing in a meadow and let yourself be mesmerized by the waving grasses and the bright wildflowers dancing in the breeze. And feel the movement in your heart. Gaze upon the lake and wonder about all the creatures in the dark depths. Imagine mountains all around you and stand with the mountains and feel its timeless solidity. Say to each and all, you are a part of me I do not yet know. Invite yourself, see yourself inviting yourself to commune with people who express their identities through practices, personal, religious, or civic, that are unfamiliar to you. Stay open, stay curious. With an attitude of reverence, whisper, you are a part of me I do not yet know. Challenge yourself to courageously stand witness to people whose pain arises in angry protest, even violence. Stay with the experience even when you want to turn away in judgment. Say aloud, you are a part of me I do not yet know.
Hmm.
And I invite you to think about extending this practice, maybe a couple days, a week, a month, a year, a lifetime. So breathe that in.
Hmm.
Yeah. And see what is rising. Just take a minute or two, if you want, to journal or just to note what's arising in feelings. And the harvesting that we will be doing, we will stay together, but we will hold the space for two at a time for us to mirror what got touched, to share, and the person who is the listener, the receiver, to mirror back. And we will do that, and then we will switch.
Well, Mary Rita, are we meditating now? Or do you
We're
want
just
to practice?
we're gonna practice also, but we're just gonna take about 2 minutes to just honor what came up in you, and
Oh,
that's what you'll
yeah,
be
great.
sharing in the mirroring.
Okay.
And one person will start as the sender, sharing, and the other person will be like you're both mirrors, but it will be like a mirror to reflect back what he or she heard. And I will coach you through that because there'll be time to validate in a sense, like, did I get you? Not did I get it, the words, but did I get you? Is there more you want to share with me? And then if there's more, and then reflect back. So we'll mirror first, and then we'll do a harvesting of this discussion of how that was. Because we have a little more than 25 minutes, and this will take about we'll do about 20 minutes with this. And this is where we'll pick up next week. You know, we will pick up and the mirroring and what we're doing with practice will always have a kind of holding and a conversation and a going deeper. So can I like who feels moved to want to share, and then maybe you can invite someone to be your receiver. If not, I will invite you.
Well, I could go, but I'm not sure I get it, but you'll let me know.
I'm going
I
to coach you, and Cecilia needs someone. So Cecilia, what you will be doing, and I would suggest, I might go in and just say to the person that's mirroring back, let me mirror that so far. Like it's not like you wait until finally like Cecilia would finish what she's saying. It's a dance. So if you feel that you have it, like you have so much that you're ready to, what I would say is keep it short for now.
How
And then
short?
so Cecilia, you would start sharing, and I will say to you, okay, just take a breath. And then I'll encourage the person that is listening to mirror back, like, so what I hear you say, what hear you saying is, and you share what you heard saying. Again, try what you're comfortable for. It doesn't have to be word for word. It's the essence of what you're hearing. And the listener then says, "Did I get you?" And then Cecilia, you listen to your heart and listen to yourself. And you could say, "You got most of what I've said. This is the little more." And you could say, "Yes." And he could say, "Well, then tell me more."
Mhm.
So it's, "Did I get you?" And you might say, "Yeah, yes. Tell me more. Is there more?" So who
Um,
would
so so so
Okay,
I'm
so
telling Oh, go ahead, Mary Rita.
well, you need a partner.
Oh,
It's not as perfect as if I was in a room with you, but you have to just imagine that, okay, Michael or my era, or let me do it.
Hunting.
Okay, how about I will do it. So just imagine, and on my screen, I am. Let's. I'm gonna pin you. No, no. This
You
is
might spotlight both of you, but we're small enough we can see both.
yeah.
yes. So I'm ready to listen, Cecilia.
Okay. So I'm telling a story, right?
Oh, but
Not
you're telling a story, or you're
relates
telling.
to this. It relates to this, but it's not this. But it's what I thought of when you were talking about this.
Okay.
So I live in a 55 plus community. but I used to live in San Francisco. And so it's very different here from San Francisco. San Francisco was very diverse, not only in terms of belief systems, but it's just like the world there. But then you come to Rossmore, where I live, and there are a whole bunch of white folks, and something is missing. We don't have the richness that we had when we lived in San Francisco.
So let me mirror that much back. So what I hear you saying, Cecilia, is you live in a 55 plus community, and you and Bobby used to live in San Francisco, and it's just really different. San Francisco had a diversity and a richness that you experienced. And in Rossmore, where you live, it's very white, and there's just something missing. It's just not the same. Did I get you?
Oh, definitely.
So
Definite.
is there more? Tell me more.
Yes. Yes. And so I notice I tend, but there is some diversity here. So for example, we have a very large Jewish community, and we have a very large Chinese community. And so it's not all like Midwestern kind of white, but so anyway, I tend to categorize. Like I notice that when I know somebody is Chinese, then I tend to be more conservative in what I talk about. I mean, it's just like so not authentic. And I notice myself doing it. And so I think that I love this idea that listen to the conversation before it even starts. Because instead of categorizing and being who that person needs me to be, I really want to get the message, listen, and realize that that person has part of me that I don't know yet. Wow. I mean, that shakes me to my roots. That is just an amazing idea for me.
So let me Okay, so let me try to mirror that back. So there is some diversity there, and it's not your Midwest kind of like a white kind of communities. There's a very large Jewish community and a very large Chinese community. And, like, you were really, really, touched by, by the repetition that I was doing of, like, knowing, um, that there's a part in that other person that you don't know yet, and um, that that you begin, and I'm not saying it in your words, but that even, like, to be able to listen before and you even speak because you know a part of you categorizes people, and so if it's one of your Chinese residents and people that you know from the community, you will tend to choose to talk about more conservative, topics, and in a sense, you're, like, really closing down, it's like some of the essence of who you really are by doing
Yes.
that, and um, you don't want to do that, and I
Yeah.
know that there's something out there that I am, like, wanting to, like, to grab and pull forward, and it's not coming, so did did I get it all?
Yes, you got it.
Okay.
Yes, you got
So
it.
I'm gonna say one more time. Is there more? Because I really do also I wanna switch that the other 2 get a chance too.
No more.
No more. So, there are some possibilities of what you could do. So I'm gonna do, like, a short summary because that really just helps it helps for, like, sometimes a deepening of, like, the connection, and so I hear you talking about the 55 plus community that you live in, that it doesn't have as much you're not experiencing as much diversity, although there is some, because there's a large Jewish community and a large Chinese community. And one of the things, like, as you were listening to this afternoon, that you are recognizing and one aspect that you know about yourself is that you can, like, categorize people. And so if you see Chinese, if you're talking to a Chinese resident, then you will tend to share more conservative topics. And you don't want to do that because you're closing down such beautiful parts of yourself by, like putting some boundaries that are a little too tight and not letting your richness flow out.
Mhm.
And I can really get I mean, that makes sense to me that would be important for you to really learn, like, more fully how to let your essence be there and to kinda, like, turn off that part of you that categorizes and puts guardrails around yourself that prevent you from being the part of you that you know's there or that the other person can maybe also help to bloom, like some of the flowers that might be in your neighborhood.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you.
Okay, so Meira and Mike yes, Meira.
Question? Question
Yes.
about technique. So I've received instruction in this before, and I've also sort of intuitively used reflecting constantly in my
Mhm.
treatment clients. Um, the difference that when I received instruction was that it was suggested that the speaker stop after each thought group of a couple of sentences and that the receiver reflect that as a kind of a condensed summary statement so that you don't have to hold in your head for a long time and you get validation that comprehension is going on. And
Mhm.
these were longer segments, and your responses were sometimes um, pretty much duplication of what you heard and not a condensation. And I want you to comment on technique for me.
Okay. Um, from my experience, it can be more of you can you can stop the person after a couple of sentences. Um, I I guess I've been doing this so long that I just let Cecilia flow because that's where she was going, but that is either can work. Thank you. So, what I'm hearing from you is, Mary Rita, you slow it down too if you're mirroring. I probably, if I was coaching, might have slowed Cecilia down a little bit, but there was such energy that was there, I didn't wanna do that.
Sure.
But I think the coaching you got makes sense. Um, I I did a combination of, uh, not that it's word for word, but like what you saw, which was a little bit more closer to what she said. I think the summary that, the summary can help to move toward a little bit that will, like, lead toward validation, you know? Um, so it could be either.
Okay.
So
So,
ask that again, or I will pay more attention because I wanna make sure that you and Michael get a chance. So who
I'll do
wants to be the sender and who wants to be the receiver? Because next week you're gonna switch and be a receiver or a sender.
I'll do either role. It's okay.
Michael, do you have a preference?
no, I don't have a preference. Okay, I'll be the sender,
Okay.
but I want to clarify something first. I got a little confused about the format
Okay.
after what Maria said.
Oh,
Does the sender or the receiver or stop to check in?
It can be, the receiver can say, "Let me mirror."
Yeah, I get that, what they,
Yeah.
but so I let the receiver determine when I stop my story.
If you're going too long, you can stop your story after 1 sentence or 2 sentences if you want to.
Mayor, like to tell you a little bit of how I used to be. That is still with me. I used to be an adventure junkie. And I remember one time at work when I worked for the USDA, Department of Agriculture, that I volunteered to go up into Canada to this little French-speaking town called Port Cartier at the top of the St. Lawrence Seaway, 300 miles north of Quebec City in the winter.
Michael, can I check it out? Thank you. So you wanted to tell us about something from your past when you used to work for the USDA and you were an adventurer and you were sent up to a small town in Canada whose name I can't repeat. Is that right?
That's pretty much it. So while I was in this French-speaking town where hardly anyone spoke English, so I went up in September, and I had to work up there until the St. Lawrence froze over. So when we weren't working, we worked 12-hour days. We would go to a Canadian's house for dinner, or for drinks, or talk about hunting or fishing, which was kind of not what I usually do, even though I've done quite a bit of fishing in the ocean. It was,
Good place, I think, for me to see if I understand. Is that okay? So you were in a French-speaking town and you were there from September until when the St. Lawrence River froze over. During that time, you were working very long days, but that you occasionally got some time with others at dinners, and these were French-speaking dinners. Is that about right?
almost.
Okay, please tell me where you need to correct me and please continue.
It wasn't French-speaking dinners,
Oh,
even though French was their first tongue, shall we say. So as we're up there, it was a new experience dealing with a lot of people that were different than me. And one of the things was The only thing in town, Port Cartier, was a grain company where I was stationed, a lumber company, and an iron ore company. So Christmas rolled around and we were still there. And there's no church in town. So for Christmas Eve Mass, we all went to an auditorium and watched the Mass by video. And I just thought that was really unique. And as far as a dialogue with people of a different faith, it was just a matter of showing respect and honoring their tradition and their philosophy. And even though we didn't have much dress-up clothes, plus we were working at grain elevators, grain companies that are pretty dirty, we put on our best. And it reminded me of a really weird movie called Videodrome, where every religious thing was done on video. And
I'd like to try to recap what you said, if I could.
okay.
So the dinners were not in French, but it was a French-speaking town. And there was a mining company, an iron ore company, and the grain company that you were working for. And it was pretty dirty work. And you were there to Christmas, and there were no religious facilities. So you all met, I think, in an auditorium. I might not have that right. And you watched the Mass on video, which apparently at that time was much more unusual than it is now. It reminded you of a film. Would you like to add anything to that I missed?
The film that it reminded me of was an extremely futuristic science fiction film. And it made me feel that I was in a different world where in the future, I was living in the future in a different time. And when I had to go to the local grocery store, everyone there spoke French, and I had to speak French to communicate and remember my high school French. And it was, and let me tell you, I was there till the end of January, and it was freezing cold, waiting for the river, the seaway to freeze over. And being from New England, it didn't bother me too much, but it was such a weird experience to go out to dinner and having to unplug and plug in our Jeeps till the oil didn't freeze. And if I had just taken a shower, that there would be icicles in my nose from the water. And I kind of, I was asked, I wasn't working for the grain company. I was working for the USDA, and I was stationed at the grain company. And I was asked to extend for 3 years. And on the way back to Philadelphia, I asked my supervisor, can I take some time off? And instead of flying from Quebec City to Philadelphia, I went back to Boston and went to one of my local hangouts when I was a teenager, which was Harvard Square. And seeing all that diversity there and hearing all the people speaking different languages and being in an urban environment that I grew up in and loved so much, I chose not to extend for 3 years, which was okay. And I went back to my regular USDA job in Philadelphia, which had also a lot of travel. And that is my French Canadian story. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Michael, for the whole story and for the clarifications. I do remember now that you were working for USDA at a grain company. And you reported how sci-fi the experience felt of watching this film. And it seems to me that it felt like a kind of an alien experience to you. And you ended up being there for a very long time till it was deeply, deeply cold in January, so that shower water would freeze in your nose and the engines of vehicles would seize up if they weren't plugged in. And I've heard of such cold. I don't think I would tolerate it. And you were offered a 3-year extension. So you must have done a great job. And on the way home, you stopped in Boston and you went to Harvard Square and you remembered how wonderfully diverse life can be there. And you made the decision that you wouldn't take that 3-year position because I sense you found it limiting. And you went back to Philadelphia and continued your job. Is
Oh,
there anything you'd like to clarify or change from what I said?
you really got it. And thank you for being a great listener.
Oh, thank you, Michael. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
And thank you. So, okay.
Thank you, everybody.
So this is my invitation. So, Michael, don't worry that you're not going to get a lot of reading. So don't worry about that. And I would like to just invite you like sometime tonight just to kind of look back on the 2 hours and write down like what touched you and um and to get a sense of like is there something new that you learned about yourself or something that feels like it's like coming to the surface and maybe jot down how you felt if you were the sender or the receiver because in 6 weeks even like next week and next week this is really good for me for, like, really the time because the time I was allowing was not enough time for what I was allowing, but, we'll start next week, at some point, like, in the beginning, just saying, "This is what I took home with me, and this is what touched me." And that we will, like, try to make it a seamless kind of flow like, a flow and a continuation into the next week. It'd be great if, like, we were somewhere we could just do 6 days in a row and, like, kinda put it together. But I really wanna honor the beauty of the sharing and, that we took it to a deeper level, and, Mayura, I love your questions and, keep on asking them, and because I really also want to weave together, like, a technique, but also a going deeper, and some of the things you might think about, like, as you were receiving Mayura, and I know this is part of who you are, but, what was it like? And what was it like as the sender to hear your words come back? You know, and
Right.
I know, Cecilia, you shared, like, I don't want to be like that. I want to be more expansive. And, that feels really important. So, like, if you get a chance to mirror, I remember when we first learned mirroring, like we broke for lunch and, my mentor said, just start just mirror. I used to mirror when I went into like getting tea or, like sometimes like I just would mirror, not just to practice, but it looked like somebody needed to know that they were not just a person that was filling a drink order, and then I would say, like, "Tell me more about yourself." So you can practice it, and, the practice, like, "You are a part of me I do not know yet."
I love
And to just to if that grabbed you, then to kinda just, like, take it like you're steeping a really good cup of tea, and I will send you a copy of that imaginal exercise that you could walk through that repeats that over and over again, and, I know it's 7:03, but I'm gonna just play like, to ask you to take a deep breath, and I'm like, we're gonna close with Hazan Jack 2, and, to let it flow through our heart and let it flow out because it is, a crossing the bridge for peace. Um, and let me find the right one. Okay. And I need this. Hmm. Okay, where is that? Okay. Okay. Okay, I can't find it, so
Oh,
let's we will use it next week. I did open it, but I'm not finding it now in the YouTubes that I had, so I will try one thing. Okay, let me just go back to here. Let me go to here. Okay. Here we go.
Chesed of love, chesed, the pure flow of God's love, that attribute from the Jewish mystical tradition of Kabbalah, that is the uninterrupted flow of God's love into the world. Olam chesed yipaneh, will be built. And we, the children, we, the ancestors, are called to do it. Olam chesed yipaneh. I will build this world from love. Adonai, Adonai, and you must build this world from love. Adonai, Adonai. And if we build this world with love, Adonai, Adonai, then God will build this world with love. Adonai, Adonai. Let's rise, sing together. I will build this world with love. Adonai, Adonai. And you must build this world from love. Adonai, and if we build this world with love,
Wow. Um,
And so I wish for you to be let that peace that I know already flows from your hearts flow out each moment. And we will gather with the same link next week. And I'm going to get the roster, the information. So I'm going to get that from Nadia, and I'll send out again. They're just short resources, and I just want you to live with what, like, just to live in your heart with what touched you tonight today. And again, we will continue next week.
okay, thank you. Can you hang on a minute? I want to
Okay.
ask you something
Yes.
unrelated to class.
You mean you just want Mary Rita to hang on?
Well, if you want it, you can hang on. It's not about class.
Okay. I would
I
like
need to leave, but I don't want to be rude. Thank you, everybody.
to see you next
All right. Thank you, Cecilia. Lila Tove.
week.
Lila Tove.
Is it okay if I give Sister Elaine your email address? And then,
Yes, it's fine.
and I don't see her that often. And when I see her, I'll ask her for hers and pass that along to you
Okay.
through an email.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Okay, it's a small world.
Elaine, yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
And I will see you next week, if not sooner, on some Zoom.
Okay, sounds good. Take care.
Okay.